Hi, this is Sam Adkins, the homeopathic coach, and this is another videocast version of my e-zine, Homeopathy at Home. This issue, I'm going to tell you a very interesting story of mercury toxicity. And this came about because it was sent to me as a response to my article that I wrote in the last issue, which explained all the environmental influences on your mercury levels. Now, if you read last week, you'll know what homeopathy can do to treat mercury, and this story is very interesting because it's a story of someone who became a homeopath because of the cure they received in curing their mercury toxicity. Now, Mary's given me permission to share her story in full, so forgive me because I'm going to read some of the parts because it's so good the way she wrote it, and I really want you to hear what she has to say directly. This is a story from Mary Aspinall, who's a homeopath based in Ireland. I guess like a lot of people, I fell in love with homeopathy because it rescued me in my darkest hour. When I was 6 weeks old, my parents went to live in the tropics. I had to have all sorts of very nasty vaccinations when I was just 4 weeks old. These were preserved with mercury. By the time I was 4, I had lots of holes in my teeth that were filled with amalgam mercury fillings, and I got more of these as life went on. I was plagued continuously by septic tonsils that were treated with repeated antibiotics. My health went from bad to worse. At 18, I got a severe bout of glandular fever and strep throat that left me in bed for 6 weeks, during which time my weight dropped to 77 pounds. I managed to claw my way back to being able to return to my studies after taking a whole year out to recover. Next, I got repeated kidney infections and a kidney stone. Twice, after visiting the dentist, I got terrible fevers and my tonsils became so inflamed that only a tiny gap in my airway was left. Once, after eating a tuna sandwich, I became violently ill with extreme vomiting and diarrhoea. The antibiotics got stronger and stronger. At one stage, I had 12 shots of penicillin that left me with chronic fatigue syndrome, unable to work full time or unable to walk up a flight of stairs without resting up halfway. So you can see so far that unwittingly, Mary had loads and loads of mercury in her vaccinations that she had to have as a child because they were still preserved with mercury then. And in things such as the tuna sandwich, and because of her mercury toxicity, she was getting lots of repeated infections, which were then being treated with antibiotics. And antibiotics, after repeated use, lower the vitality of the body and lower its ability to heal itself. So her body was fighting on very many fronts. She says that the final blow came when she went to the opening of a new cinema with newly laid carpet. Now, the fumes from the glue made her very ill again, and she wrote to the cinema asking them exactly what the ingredients were in the carpet. And she found, not surprised, that it was preserved with a mercurial biocide, which is an antifungal agent. She said that this time when she was ill, she says, that time I really thought I might die, but I had a very young child and somehow hung on. So she had a very high fever and a septic throat, and nobody seemed to know what to do about it. She was actually reading a book by Miranda Castro, who's a well-published author homeopath, and she said that the symptoms of mercurius, which is a homeopathic remedy, a homeopathic version of mercury, kind of caused a light bulb to go on her head. And these are the symptoms of mercury, homeopathic mercury. The sore throats have excessive saliva and a very foul breath, and the saliva is so excessive that often the patient will want to spit it out rather than swallow because the throat is so very painful. And the throats are always worse on the right side, or generally worse on the right side. And when she read the description for the homeopathic remedy mercurius, this is when Mary really realised that her problems were to do with mercury toxicity, and she took some mercurius, homeopathic mercurius. And from that point on, she has never had to have antibiotics ever again. And she's never had a strep throat either. And she also had her amalgam fillings removed because she'd had a lot of those, because if you remember, the mercury toxicity actually causes holes in your teeth. So, I mean, she says really that well, I want you to hear her words. She says, I feel I literally owe my life to homeopathy. Recently I had a client with exactly the same pattern as I had had. She was 17 and had been ill for a year. I asked if she'd had any amalgam fillings at 16 and she had. I gave her a homeopathic dose of mercurius and she arranged to have her fillings replaced. In just 6 weeks, her health was restored. One of the things that drives me to make every possible effort to spread the word is that I've seen homeopathy work miracles like this every week. Now, Mary's absolutely right. Homeopaths have people that come into their clinics all the time that are chronically ill. Nobody seems to know what's wrong. Often it's something very serious but very simple that can be helped with homeopathy. And I really wanted to share Mary's story with you and wanted to thank her publicly for her bravery and confidence in sharing that with us, because it's very important for people to understand the impact of mercury toxicity. So this is Sam Adkins signing off from a videocast version of my e-zine. And I thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye bye.